We've been on our farm almost 2 months now and the garden is really taking off. So today I'm going to take you on a full tour of everything that's growing. These are my flowers I have growing, and these flowers I started from seed in my greenhouse at the old property this spring. So they're all looking really great. This is the Monarda lemon mint or bee balm, cosmos, lots of different colors of zinnias. The snapdragons are about to start blooming again, and then the straw flower are just getting started blooming along with the gomphrena. And this one I'm pretty sure is a weed that I lovingly transplanted for my old garden here because I just wanted to make sure I didn't leave anything behind. The next row here is the tomatoes, and they're doing amazing. I grew all of these tomatoes from seed in my greenhouse except for just the ones past the T-post. My friend grew. She started from seeds and got me a bunch of her leftovers. So we also have basil and 2 different kinds of basil and also marigolds growing as companion plants to the tomatoes.
There's some catmint in this next one.
The tomatoes are just starting to blush. Our cherry tomatoes have started ripening and the baby loves to eat those. And some of my bigger tomatoes are finally starting to blush as well. Obviously right here we've got corn growing. This is a sweet corn, Silver King sweet corn. We have yellow onions here, and we didn't move here in time to get real onions out of this, so we're using them as green onions. Today we used some in kicked up ramen. Sweet potato patch is doing really well. I've got 6 sweet potato plants, and they're starting to vine all over the place. Next are the collard greens. I've never grown collard greens before. I didn't realize at the beginning that they are a brassica, which I could tell after a little while because they were getting cabbage worms and different things on them. So next time I grow them, I want to get some netting over them to help protect them from the cabbage worms. But they're looking really good, so they're to the point where I can take a big harvest at this point and start experimenting with them. And next is all the Swiss chard. I've got the rainbow Swiss chard. Ever since my very first gardens that I was growing with my husband, we've been growing rainbow Swiss chard. It's just a really good producer, and we use it all the time in place of spinach. Next I have kohlrabi. Kohlrabi always makes me think my son. He picked them out at a farmer's market one time. We were letting the kids pick things out, and the farmer called them cabbage apples. And I think that's a really good description of what kohlrabi is. I mean, if you're not going for UFO or weird spacey vegetable. So next I have one Japanese style eggplant. It's got a couple of eggplants growing on it. And next to that, the shishito pepper. I have shishito seeds, and I started some from seed this year, but my baby destroyed all my sweet pepper seedlings. So I got this one from the store, and only 1 plant, but it's producing a lot, so I'm pleased with that. The next sweet peppers we have are sweet banana peppers, and there's a ton on here as well. So that is 1, 2, 3, 4 plants of sweet banana peppers.
And here you're growing other peppers and moles.
Yeah, growing some moles. So that's why we got some barn kittens. So I've got quite a few bell peppers because I wanted to get a lot. Bell peppers are something that we use a lot of, and I was hoping to maybe be able to chop and freeze some bell peppers. They need to get their act, you know, they need to get their act together if I'm going to be able to do that. So far, this is it so far. But on the very end, we have 2 different kinds of hot peppers that I grew from seed. One is the Sugar Rush peach pepper, and then the Ancho Gigantea pepper. The Sugar Rush peach peppers are doing really well. There's a ton of them on here. And then we have some of the Ancho Giganteas over here as well. These are a poblano type of pepper that I'm looking for something like hatch green chilies, that type of a green pepper. So hopefully we get something like that I can use in that way. Here come the kitties. Here we have the beans. On this last trellis, we have the Chinese red noodle beans, and so they're getting ready to go. But these, I've got these runners that are starting to catch on here. So these will grow up, except not from right there because those ones didn't make it. It was so hot and dry for like a month after we got here that it was hard to get germination. So. But there's a lot of these runner beans. These will go up. And then we've got the dragon tongue beans over here. And some of the October beans right here. All of these are looking really good. Other than a little bit of spotty germination on the one side, as these are looking really good. Next we have cucumbers. And I didn't leave enough room for the cucumbers. They need more space and more trellising next year, but that's okay. So these ones were starts. These ones I started from seed, and these ones have their first couple cucumbers on them that are going to be ready to harvest soon. Next one, this is a big jack-o'-lantern pumpkin, a big field pumpkin, Connecticut field pumpkin, I believe. And we were just experimenting with these tomato cages, seeing if we could maybe get the vines to go up and out to save a little bit of space in the garden. The next thing we have growing is a Moon and Stars watermelon. And it's amazing, the very first, after the seed leaves came out, the very first true leaf already had the Moon and Stars patterning on it. So this pattern will be on the melon as well. And I've got a son that really is into astronomy and space and the stars, and so I was growing that one for him. I thought he would have a lot of fun with that. Lemon squash. So this is a summer squash, lemon squash. They're supposed to be kind of more resistant to squash. I don't remember if it's squash vine borers or squash bugs. I need resistance to both of them, so that's good. And then this one is butternut squash. Butternut squash are supposed to be kind of the most resistant to squash vine borers as well. And we planted these, hopefully, kind of 4th of July is about the date when you want to plant squash and pumpkins. Well, pumpkins if you want pumpkins by Halloween, if you want ripe pumpkins by Halloween. That's what we're hoping for this year. And also, a lot of times they say that the squash that you plant later in the season actually has less pressure from the squash bugs and the squash vine borers. So maybe that's going to be the case, and maybe that's what I need to learn from here on out, is to just wait and plant them a little bit later. This one is a Kajari melon. My farming friend who also watches Roots and Refuge on YouTube picked up these seeds and shared a couple with me, so we're both growing the Kajari melon this year. And then I planted a sunflower on the end just for fun. So we have a handful of potatoes growing right here, just ones that sprouted from our cabinet, and the kids came and threw them in the ground. And we waited for them to come up, and then we've mounded them the first time, and we want to probably find some straw or something to mound up again, but that is a lot of fun. The next row I've got going is beets, and the germination was okay on the beets. On the far side I think I had yellow beets, and it must be that like the seeds must have been bad because almost I don't see any of those. So the red beet seed was good. That's one of the risks of saving your seed for like a number of years in a row, but the germination goes down each year. But also you don't have to buy new seeds on the ones that still will germinate. So next is carrots. Have one really strong row of carrots, one less strong row of carrots. And then in this section I have just a mix of kale, all-star mix of kale. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So just an assortment of kale that'll be good for us this fall. And then on this last area, I have an assortment of sunflowers. And I want to save some. I decided to just grow a bunch of sunflowers, and I might even try and put some more in, but I was just looking more into this idea of ways to start producing some of our own animal feed on our homestead. And so sunflower seeds are great for, especially for like the chickens. So also I used to feed my goats black oil sunflower seeds as well. They like those. On this row, we've got a couple sunflowers on the end, and then we have a number of pumpkins down this row to just try and have a pumpkin patch, grow some more pumpkins, see what works. So I've got cardboard covering the parsnips seeds that I'm trying to germinate right here. This is kind of my tip that I've been doing it with the carrots and with the beets also, because they take a little bit longer to germinate, and they need a little bit of the shade helps them to germinate better because it doesn't dry out the soil. They need parsnips especially take a long time to germinate. So hopefully we'll get some of those germinated. The seed's a little bit old, so we'll just have to see. That's kind of a theme this year. A lot of my seed, I just wanted to throw it out there and use it up. That way I have more excuse to buy brand new seed for next year. So
what?
There's a little bit of beets growing in here, but not a bunch. Then I've got another area with carrots that are coming up. They're doing well. And then we planted another section of corn because where we live,
that corn was not enough.
Yeah. And where we live, you can plant corn through July 10th. So we planted this
July 11th.
Maybe July 11th, possibly the 12th. But we're just hoping to get a little bit more, maybe put some more in the freezer. I like to spread stuff out rather than have everything ripe at the same time and have to do these marathon, preserving sessions or something. Now we do have one more row that is tilled at this point, and I've started some fall brassicas. I've started some Romanesco broccoli and some bok choy, and we'll get some lettuces and things growing in this last row. Also, I have peas, garden peas. Those I'm going to plant August 1st. So I think that is a good time period for me to plant those. And then we have room for one more row, and this is going to be our first big garden block, and we're just going to fence this in by itself. We may or may not get to that last row this year, but that's the plan for this. And then that's 10 rows. Our rows are about 50 feet long, and right now the rows are about 18 inches wide, and the paths are about 30 inches wide, but essentially we want to swap that. We wanted to get our rows established this year, but over the winter we'll be putting animal bedding down to compost and to mulch them, and so we want the rows to spread out a little bit, and the pathways will constrict a little bit. Earlier, the rows that I was walking on have cardboard down with grass clippings over the top of them. We started that when we first moved here, and then the grass stopped growing because there was no rain and it was too hot. So we got rain the last couple weeks, the grass has started growing again, and so that's my plan, is to lay down cardboard and grass clippings and maybe some wood chips and mulch in between the rows. Our plan then is to do a second block of planting rows this direction. And the first row we have there is the raspberries. I'll put a link up for the video of planting the raspberries. But then after that, we have a blackberry and some blueberries, strawberries, asparagus, grapes. That's going to be the next block of rows, is some of those perennial fruits and vegetables. All right, over here we have our 4 apple trees. This is the beginning of our apple orchard, and so far they are all still alive. They made it through that really hot, dry spell, so that is good news. And we have a lot of things growing underneath them. I'll go more into detail about that on a later video. If you want, you can check out and see the video where I talked about what I plant as understory plants in a permaculture orchard to help support the health of the tree. But that wraps it up for today. Thanks for joining me on a tour of my garden, and I'll see you next time.
Wait, are cats afraid of cucumbers? She doesn't seem to be too scared.
Nope.
Not afraid of cucumbers.